up to Hill Top Cottage. It's still summer, hot 90-degree days and lush green leaves, but there are signs of autumn coming. The migrating birds are starting to stop by, much to Madeline's amusement. And our neighbors' cows have moved into the field right next to the cottage. I picked up this beautiful new apron from the pantry in Washington, a town nearby, for all my autumn baking. Today I am making the pie crust to make a blueberry peach pie. Blueberry and peaches are their season's ending at the end of August, and so now that it's September, I want to use this summer fruit before it's gone. My husband's grandmother did give me her pie crust recipe that won a pie award in a pie contest. I did promise not to share her recipe as it is her secret recipe, but I will be sharing some tips and tricks to make a perfect pie crust. So you'll want to find a good recipe online. I like to use a nice natural flour, like this one here. A homemade pie crust tastes so much better than store-bought, and there's something so satisfying about making it yourself. You're going to want a little splash of salt. One of my secret ingredients is a little dollop of vanilla extract. I get this one from Trader Joe's, it's alcohol-free. And one of Grandma's secret ingredients is a little bit of vinegar. I use apple cider vinegar, just a splash. It makes the crust extra flaky, and this was very common in pie crust recipes back in the day, so it's not all that secret, and I felt it was a good tip to share with you. Grandma recommends using a fork. I wish I had listened to her instead of using a whisk, because I think a fork would have mashed in the egg yolk so much better. She says to add it just a little bit at a time and blend before adding the rest. Instead of plastic, I like to use a reusable wrap, like this one here with beeswax. I just think it's more eco-friendly. And what I do is I just wrap it up after I make it, and I leave it in the fridge overnight so I could use it the next day. The next day after work, it was time to make some pie. Monet was ready to watch and observe. making a blueberry peach pie. Now, peaches in August are in season here in Connecticut, and blueberries, of course, are the summer fruit here as well. And it'll be just a delightful end of summer recipe. I love making pies, and I can't wait to share this with you. We made our pie crust yesterday. It needs to sit in the fridge for about a day, 2 days. You don't want to have it in there for more than 3 though, because you don't want it to go bad. But we made our pie crust yesterday. Monet! We talked about this. We made our pie crust yesterday. It spent overnight in the fridge, and so it was time to cut it in half and roll it out. You don't need a pie crust bag, but this one by Mrs. Anderson's Baking is so good. What I love about it is it makes rolling easy and clean. You keep your rolling pin from sticking to the crust. And the best part is transferring your pie crust when you're done. It just plops right over, you just fold it in. And so I highly recommend one, but you don't need one. So I just flip the pie crust right onto the pie baking dish, and this has been a game changer for me. Now it is time to make some pie filling. You'll need peaches and blueberries. You're going to want a little bit of lemon to add a tiny bit of tart to the sweetness. It helps keep it from being too sugary, and it also helps preserve the pie filling. Because of all the water and juices in the fruit, it can get really watery and runny in your pie when you're baking it. So I use 1/4 cup of cornstarch and 1/3 cup of arrowroot powder. And the arrowroot powder and the cornstarch create kind of like a gel with the liquid. So it's a really important step. I used a little bit too much on accident, but as I said, you'll just want 1/3 of the arrowroot and 1/4 of the cornstarch. And of course, a little bit of sugar, not too much. I use a natural sugar. It's sweet enough already, but this is just a nice little addition to make it a little extra sweet.
Here she comes like the rays of the sun, she shines. A 10 out of 10, Lord, she's no less than a dime. Sets my soul on fire and helps me unwind, yeah. The right kind of woman to help me feel fine. And I've been waiting for most of my life to have this love come and bury my...
This antique pastry cutter is over 100 years old, and it has a pie crimper at the end as well. It's beautiful, and this is my first time giving it a use.
She got the soul of a warrior, but a tender heart, yeah. Had me hooked on her love right from the start. Pleasure and happiness is never far, no. 'Cause I've been waiting for most of my life to have this love come and bury my strife and carry on. And carry on. Here she comes like the rays of the sun, she shines. 10 out of 10, Lord, she's no less than a dime. Sets my soul on fire and helps me unwind. She's the right kind of woman to help me feel fine. 'Cause I've been waiting for most of my life to have this love come and bury my strife and carry on. And carry on, yeah. Oh, oh,
When baking, it's a good idea to cover the top or the edges to prevent them from burning. You're going to want to bake at 350 for about an hour until it starts to bubble like this, and that the top is lightly golden. I may have baked mine slightly too long, but it still came out fantastic. I've been teaching myself new skills, including baking and cooking, things that I just didn't learn when I was younger that I wish I had. And so I'm really proud of how far I've come. I still have a little bit to learn, and hopefully I'll keep improving, but I'm very proud of how this pie came out. reality behind these videos is that I also work full-time, so I'm eating and enjoying this while working on my computer from home. going to be, it's a 3-season room in the house that we're renting in the downstairs near the basement. And it is going to be, we're repurposing it as like a little tea room. Matthew has most of the basement for his home office and to himself. So he wanted to create this space for me to use, to hang out with friends. I'm going to set up my art easel in that corner. I'm going to hopefully have a little tea table in here and a little round table as well to do crafting, have tea, read books. It's a nice cozy tea spot. It's very romantic and whimsical. I'm really excited for this space actually. I never imagined when we started renting here that I would have a room like this. It's quite magnificent. I set up the tea stuff earlier today and I wanted to share with you some late summer reading. Most of these books are books I have not read yet, but I wanted to share some book recommendations in a way of just to inspire your late summer reading. I know everyone's talking about fall. I love fall, but I'm also a very much in the present kind of person. I like reading based on the season I'm in, and it's still summer, so bear with me, my autumn girlies. I have books for you coming. I've so many books. But for now, I thought I'd share some of my contemporary reads for summertime. We have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This one, it's a romance, contemporary romance to take place on the water. I grew up on a lake. It's by the same author of Every Summer After. And growing up on the lake, it doesn't feel summer without something lake-ish, right? Whether I'm on the lake myself or reading about a lake, just lakes feel like summer romance to me. And if you're a contemporary romance reader, I've heard very good things about this book. And also I have summer reading that takes place on Martha's Vineyard. I was reading it on a beach the other day and it got water ballooned by a small child right in my reading. I was like, my book! The mom offered to buy me a new one, but I was like, I'll just iron out the pages when they dry. So it's a little funny looking, but it's a really good. I don't read a lot of first person narratives, but this one's been so much fun. As I said, it takes place in Martha's Vineyard, young woman in their late 20s. Her name's Samantha. She's a chef that just kind of lost and quit her job. Her family doesn't know, but she's on the vineyard to take care of her younger half-brother, her teenage half-brother, while her father and stepmother are off having a trip to Europe. So it's a lot of fun. She meets a man who's a librarian, of all things, on the ferry boat to the island, and she's dyslexic, so books aren't her thing. So it's just it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a fun read. As I said, I'm only like almost halfway through it, so I can't tell you if it's the best book ever, but you know, Jill Shalvis fans, this one might be for you. I also have some classic children's literature, like I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I have not read this one before. It's been on my list for ages. As I said, I probably won't be able to finish reading all these books. I might not get to any of them. Life's been crazy busy, but it's nice to be inspired by children's literature. Like I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I have not read this one before. It's been on my list for ages. As I said, I probably won't be able to finish reading all these books. I might not get to any of them. Life's been crazy busy, but it's nice to be inspired by some summer reading. But I Capture the Castle is written like a diary, and it's of a young girl, her sister, and her parents living in a castle, which sounds really romantic and amazing, but the castle's actually in ruins. They're very poor. It's crumbling around them, drafty in winter. It's not luxurious, but it is quite the adventure. I think it takes place in the 1920s. So this sounded like a good summer read to me. Also, Thimble Summer by Elizabeth Enright. So this one says, it's a magical summer. A few hours after 9-year-old Garnet Linden finds a silver thimble in a dried up riverbed, the rain comes and the end of a long drought on the farm. The rains bring safety for the crops and the livestock and the money for Garnet's father. Garnet can't help feeling that the thimble is magic because the summer proves to be an interesting and exciting in so many different ways. So I won't read the whole back, but yeah, this is a children's book. There's so many great children's novels and literature that I've never read before, but it had like illustrations in it, and it just sounds like a really lovely read. And it says, "Do you believe in magic?" on the cover, and yes, I do. I also have Anne of the Island by Ellen Montgomery. It's one of those, a sequel. I think it's the 4th book in the series. Nope, the 3rd. My apologies, Anne fans. It's the 3rd. I have not read it yet, but it takes place in late summer as Anne is leaving the island, and I think she comes back at the end. But it sounded perfect for a summer read. And speaking of Ellen Montgomery, I've got Pat of Silverbush. This is a beautiful paperback edition. It's another one of her characters. So this is a 2-part book. I think there's Pat of Silverbush and what's the other one's name? I can't remember the sequel's name, but it's a 2-part series. I'll have to look that up. And I love Ellen Montgomery's writing. I love her characters, and I loved The Blue Castle, which is a standalone novel of hers. So I'm hoping Pat of Silverbush will be the next Blue Castle for me. The last of the children's books, well, this one's for anybody of all ages, right? It's not a children's book, but The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This one I have read a million times. I love this book. It was given to me when I was going through a really difficult time. It was a Christmas present, and it's just so lovely. The illustrations, the story, the characters, it's just beautiful. And I love this book because it gives me so much hope. If you're going through a hard time or know someone going through a hard time, this is the perfect gift to yourself or to that friend or loved one, because just reading it, I cried. I was so happy. It made me feel comforted. It brought a lot of self-love back into my life. And so I read this whenever I'm feeling blue or need a little pick-me-up. This book is just magic. I mean, this page says, "Sometimes I feel lost," said the boy. "Me too," said the mole. "But we love you and love brings you home." Just every page is magic. So speaking of happiness, I have these 2 absolutely beautiful vintage books on happiness, which it was fun and surprising. Sorry, it's very hot in this room. It's got to be like 85 degrees in here. And I have the fan off because I don't want the sound of the fan when I'm filming. I'm just getting through this. But I thought these books were really cool because there's so many self-help and happiness and well-being books and positive psychology, personal growth books out there these days. And it's kind of fun to know that 100 years ago, they were also making those books. These 2 are more inspirational. This one's called Helps to Happiness. Let's see what year this one is. But you could find these online if you go to eBay or Etsy, Google shopping search. So this is Helps to Happiness, selected and arranged by Richard Brooks. And it was published in New York, 1907. But it's just a beautiful book. I'm going to show you some up closes of this book. But it's beautiful poems, quotes on happiness and well-being. It's a stunner. It's just absolutely stunning from cover to cover. This is the backside cover. And this one's the same way. This is A Book of Happiness by Jenny Day Haynes. And this one, let's see, it was published in 1912. So look at the inside cover of this one. The flower of life is happiness is what the cover says on the inside. A Book of Happiness. And again, this one is also quotes from famous people over the years, about happiness and well-being, the happiness makers, poetry, just really nice, beautiful collections, all on happiness, and no doubt it'll bring some joy to you. We are at the bottom of the stack. So my Jane Austen fans, you'll be happy to know I have Persuasion on here. So you'll also be disappointed though to know that I've never finished reading this book. I've started it, I've never finished it. So I bought this beautiful edition for myself for my birthday this July. And it's kind of interactive. There are elements that come out, kind of not like a pop-up book, but interactive. So pages of books, calling cards, letters, things like that are in here. So it's just a really beautiful addition, interactive, and just a fun way to get into the story in a whole new way. So I'm really looking forward to finally finishing Persuasion. The last book on this list is Al Fresco by Julie Pointer Adams. It's a beautiful book about dining outside, al fresco. So picnics, beach gatherings, in the garden, with the family, just all these beautiful gatherings and recipes and traditions captured in one absolutely stunning, beautiful book. And I love eating outside, and one of the reasons why I bought this book too is that when we moved to the new rental house, we have a yard for the first time ever, and it's just nice to eat outside. So I'm trying to do more of that, and this book is just so inspiring, so I highly recommend. And then I wanted to share a few magazines with you. I have Daphne's Diary, which is a British magazine, and so I get these at Barnes & Noble, and what I love about it is that there's recipes, there's crafts in here, travel, little pages and things that you can make. There's washi tape, just different projects and inspirational drawings and things that it's just a lot of fun. It's such a fun magazine. Very creative, very inspiring, and because it's British though, in the States we get it like a month behind, maybe 2 months, so I'm always behind season. So they're starting to do the fall magazines here in Connecticut, but they have spring and summer's just starting to arrive at Barnes & Noble when it comes to the British magazines. So I'm always slightly behind, but it's always worth it, and it's just so beautiful. And then the last magazine, or actually sorry, I have 2 more. I'm going to share O Reader, which is a magazine for, as you guessed it, readers. It's all articles about reading, photos of books. So much fun. My big reading fans will love this magazine. It's just darling. And they talk about really important topics too, like banned books, the importance of reading, and different things that you haven't even thought about when it comes to reading. Which I love. It's just lovely. And the final magazine is Bella Grace. It says, "We believe an ordinary life can be extraordinary. There is beauty in imperfection, and that magic can be found in the everyday." That's their motto. It's on the back of every magazine. What I love about this one is that it's all reader submissions. So the whole magazine, it's only 4 times a year. It comes out 1 each season. It's all reader photos, reader quotes, articles, poetry. Anyone could submit anything. And it's mostly pretty seasonal. There's writing prompts, journal entries, beautiful photos, and it's just so inspiring. And this is their summer magazine. Their fall one's probably coming out too. And it's just absolutely stunning and fun. I love the pages. This is just a magazine that makes you feel super cozy. My cottagecore girlies are gonna love this. And yeah, that's the end of my book recommendations. Thank you so much for being here.